After several weeks of binge watching, it has finally come time for me to talk about Arrow. But first, my reward for having to binge watch Arrow. Let us begin. Let me clarify. The main reason why I decided to watch Arrow is because I'm in love with The Flash. I think that The Flash is so much fun, so interesting, has this great sense of like humor and fun to it that I really miss from comic book movies in general that are Marvel. So it was very much a relief to go back to watching a show that was both a comic book show that was fun, was building a mythos slowly, and had characters I could really genuinely root for. And then of course, because it is the spin-off of Arrow, there is a lot of Arrow Flash crossover. There's only been one so far, well, 2 episodes on both shows, but I also feel like there is going to be more of this interconnection as we go forward, and so I felt like if that's going to be a continuous thing, because I think it is, because both of these shows are so popular, I should at least know what's going on in Arrow. And so since it was available on Netflix, I decided, let me just binge watch it. And that was an experience. It's not even that I despise Arrow. I don't particularly like it, but I don't despise it. But the reason why I dislike it as much as I do right now is because Ollie is literal human trash, and his penis is literally a human disaster zone. His hypocrisy, his treatment of the people who he cares about is so frustrating, but it's magnified by the fact that he's such a hypocrite, because he's so angry at other people for the things that he does. And like, I think the point where I literally had to just be like, I'm done with it, was in season 2 when Sarah comes back and she has that awkward dinner with River Song, her dad, and Laurel, and Laurel goes off, as she should, because as far as she knows, her sister was dead for all this time, has just come back, and already she's balls deep in Ollie again, which was the cause of a lot of the grief between the sisters and Ollie to begin with. Laura's dealing with her own stuff, and Ollie has the audacity to go up to her and be like, I'm done, why don't you go drink yourself something. I was like, what? After that point, I was like, Laurel, you need to be done with these. Every woman on the show needs to just reject Ollie's penis. Just, the only one safe from it is Lila, because she getting that but it was just so frustrating because literally every female character that he's not related to, and isn't Lila because she got the diggle, is like drawn to him for some reason, and it's like, why? He's a fuckboy. Like, he literally slept with sisters twice, not just when he was being a douchebag, but also after his character development, and he's doing it again, and he has the right to be self-righteous about it, to be like, yeah, I love her, I love her, I love her, I love her. Like, it's ridiculous. The way he treats the people around him is so aggravating to watch, and I think it's amplified by the fact that every other character on the show is more likable than him. Literally everyone else. Even Malcolm Merlin. I mean, he's a mass murderer. At least he knows it isn't trying to make quantifiable, like, rituals, like, I have to do this for my family. Like every time that Laurel has something that she cares about dealing with her family, he's like, don't get involved, you're too emotional. But the moment that his sister is involved, he's like, that's my sister, she's my family, I have to do this. I'm just like, oh, really? Because when it was Laurel 2 seconds ago, you were like, no, you're too emotional, you're too stupid, Laurel. And can I just say, like, alright, so initially in season 1, I didn't care for Laurel. Not because I disliked her, but she was just written very blandly, but at the same time, she wasn't a bad character, you know what I mean? Like, she had a great setup to be someone who would eventually become Black Canary. But in season 2, after the death of Tommy, I guess because so many people didn't like her, they decided to, like, change stuff up. And basically, they just shied on her for, like, basically a whole season. Even into season 3, everyone's like, you're not worthy to wear Sarah's jacket and shit. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, she just started. You know, Sarah got, like, intense training for 5 years of how to be a badass bisexual goddess Nissa. Of course she's not as good as Sarah right now. Why are you, like, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, you give Roy this chance to become this badass even when he's all, you know, drugged up. But Laurel, it's like you have to shit on her constantly to be like, you're not worthy, so we have to make you worthy. It's like, I know the fandom hates Laurel, and to a degree, I feel like it's the writing's fault. Because the actress who plays her is attractive, which, you know, the people love. She has a really good moral compass, and all of her feelings, even if we're supposed to disagree with it because we're supposed to root for Ollie, which I don't, so obviously I don't have that problem, but it's like all her reactions they're not rational, but they're understandable due to the grief that she's going through, you know what I mean? Like when Tommy dies and she starts doing all these, that's how she's coping. She's coping with the death of her love, who she feels like she betrayed by being in love with somebody else, with these negative things, which, you know what, if we didn't, and people are like hitting her for them, just kind of like, this show is based around a character who can't grieve properly and is acting out. That's what Batman basically is. Like, if he was able to grieve properly, he wouldn't be wearing a bat suit. You know what I mean? So like, for people to act like Laurel is just this horrible, terrible person for grieving the way that she is astounds me. Like, I don't think that she's doing it in a healthy way or a productive way, but she's not awful. She's not this awful demonic person that people kind of portray her to be. And so when she was going off on Ollie and everyone for their ridiculousness, I was like, you're right, Laurel. Like, you're right. Like, what the fuck is this problem? And here's the thing too, like, if Oliver was a woman, people would call her all sluts and hoes. That's the most frustrating. Like, you know, if Siggy Stackhouse got so much grief for just being in love with, like, so many people, like Elena from the Vampire Diaries, and I don't give a shit about neither of them anyway, but like, they're having this whole thing with 2 men, right? Oliver is doing it with 2 sisters, plus Shadow, plus his daddy's mistress, plus Felicity. I'm just like, and y'all feeling it? Like, this is what I understand. Like, the first season is all about how he loved Laurel, the apple of his eye, blah, 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 but he getting with Shadow at the same time. And then, second season, you know, on top of Shadow, there he with Sarah. And then, in the real world, he's with Sarah, then he with his daddy mistress that one time, because, I guess. And then, all of a sudden, at the end of season 2, he's still with Sarah. Just had sex with her like maybe 2-3 episodes ago. But now he in love with Felicity. Now in season 3, he's totally all about Felicity, even though he was totally all about Sarah just like 2 seconds ago. What? And it's supposed to just fly. He's supposed to be like, yeah, you know, love is love. No, are you crazy? Like, and I just feel like, first of all, if I was Shadow and Slade and Oliver were my 2 choices, I would not have been with Oliver. I've been all about that Slade. Like, the guy who plays Slade is so fine. I was like, girl, what are you doing with Oliver with his bad wig? Are you crazy, girl? It's alright. Everyone makes mistakes. But I was just like, I'm watching it just thinking to myself, like, so he's in love with one woman, sleeping with like 4 others, and no one thinks that that's a problem? Like, everyone's supposed to just be like, oh, you know. And like, Felicity, why do people want Oliver with Felicity? I'm totally about her being with the Atom right now. I don't understand why people want Felicity with Oliver so bad. Like, his attraction towards her came so out of left field, because up until the finale, he was all in Sarah. So I don't understand how all of a sudden that he's in love with Felicity, and we're supposed to believe that and supposed to root for that as an audience, even though he's a dick to her like half the time. And let me tell you something about this, because even though I am totally all about Lila and Diggle, and of course little baby Sarah Diggle, Diggle is my favorite character on Arrow, no lie. Like, I love him. I've loved him since the beginning. I think he's fun. I loved his character development. I love how his moral issues are coming to conflict with Oliver, with his wife. I love how he's supposed to grow. I love his antagonistic relationship with Deadshot. I think that was really well built and put together. I think he has some of the most interesting little character arcs of the main characters. So I really love him and I appreciate him as a character and as the sole hone it down black person on the show. Word. So I think he's great overall as a character. And even though I'm totally about him and Lila, and when he proposed to her again, I was like, yes, Mr. and Mrs. Lila Diggle. I was like thinking to myself, like, why was Diggle never given the opportunity to like be Felicity's love interest? Because they are so effing cute and work well together. Like, I know it's like, well, why can't it just be friends? Why can't Oliver and Felicity just be friends? Why he gotta be about her? I feel like Diggle and Felicity have great chemistry together, and I think they could have done that, but they don't, because they're like, Oliver has to be just like the cute white boy of the week, and I can't stand it. I don't like him. Felicity is cute. I think that she's a really, you know, here's the thing. Felicity works for me because the actress plays that role in a very endearing way, and we get to see slowly, especially in this third season, a good amount of backstory about her. She questions Oliver in a lot of ways, but at the same time, she's also underdeveloped. That can be frustrating to me because she has shades of being a pixie dream girl, but I think that the actress and sometimes the writing will remember that she is a person and can do her own thing and pulls back. But at the same time, they also make her very contradictory, because like when her mom comes and she's like, I've never seen you wear anything that wasn't like a mini skirt, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Felicity, you haven't worn work-appropriate attire for 2 seasons, okay? You came on the flat with like a cutout dress, and you really talk about your mama? Like, Felicity, I've been watching the show. I don't know what you're talking about. So that's a little frustrating to me, because she's very much supposed to be like, she's smart and she's educated, but she's also very attractive in every other way. Like, they want to make us be like, oh, she's awkward, that's what makes her normal, but it's like, we know she's perfect. It's not that clever. Leah's character is, she reminds me a lot of Dawn from Buffy, but I also understand why she feels the way that she does, which is why I like Dawn from Buffy. Like, yes, Thea is an annoying teen character, but at the same time, she has a right to be an annoying teen. Like, she's right to feel betrayed by her family. She's right to be betrayed to feel that way about the people that she loves. It makes sense that she would gravitate towards Malcolm Merlyn and then be caught in this drama. Like, I think that everything that happens to her, whether it be annoying or not, makes sense with the situation that she's been put up with. So I don't dislike her for feeling the way that she does, or for being angry at Oliver or her mother. Oh, by the way, Mora was an amazing character. I really do miss her. I was very upset when she was killed off, even though I knew it had to happen, but I felt like she was the most fascinating character on the show. So I really was upset when she left. I thought she was really interesting. I like Slade. I've always liked Slade. Slade was one of my favorite antagonists. It was interesting seeing him be an antagonist to Green Arrow, the Arrow, the Hood, whatever. The way they rebooted him in this franchise, it works, and it's also kind of aggravating that his backstory is about the fridging of a woman. You know, I really wish they had just stuck with some stuff that was part of his original canon more so to make him that antagonist, than to like have Shadow die to give Slade a reason to feel the way that he did, and making it kind of like, you know, she was in love with Oliver, but Slade was in love with her. It's just, it's very play by numbers, and I wish they had done more with it. But I felt like they did make him a really interesting antagonist when he was around, and his ability to basically just F with Oliver and everyone. Because I don't like Oliver as a person. I find him very obnoxious, which is why The Arrow is such a fun show for me, because I love Barry. Barry is such a good character. When they do the crossover, I'm just like, I really want Barry to like beat his ass. But they will never show that happening. But I really do love Barry and how good of a person that he is. And I appreciate that more than the angst and Batman-ness of Arrow. Because let's be real, the Arrow is basically Batman. Like, this is Batman with like the mythology and the backstory and everything that they're doing is very much Batman. It's just with Green Arrow, and he's barely that person, except for the fact that he's a playboy, that he's with Black Canary, which I don't love nor hate. I'm very indifferent towards it. I feel like it works, so obviously people enjoy that, but I just feel like I am not warmed up completely to that. I like the funny Ollie that I used to read about in comics. I like that character. I don't much care for the one that they have given me on the Arrow. That's kind of part of why I don't really care for the Arrow Ollie, but it is what it is. I think that Nyssa is amazing. I love her. She's so effing beautiful. I can't stand it. I'm like, Sarah, what do you do with Oliver when you have Nyssa? Like, I don't get it. It's okay. So is Shadow. Like, you two are like the prettiest girls in the world. I don't know why. Like, her, like, Nyssa, Shadow, Felicity, and Thea are babes. And I don't know why they mess with fuckboys at all. I just don't. I think right now the storyline with Ra's al Ghul is okay. I mean, I'm disappointed that Ra's al Ghul is once again not Middle Eastern or a person of color at all. He's just another white dude, like they always do. When he's not animated anyway. So that's kind of frustrating, but I'll be interested to see where they go with his character, how they bring in the League of Assassins as well, and also with Malcolm Merlyn. Malcolm Merlyn's such a weird character to me because John Barrowman hams him up so effing much that I don't always take him seriously, but at the same time I'm always excited when he comes on the screen. So I'm interested to see how Ollie is stuck between these two villains, and I want to know if Slade's gonna come back. He probably will because he left them alive, and that's always the number one mistake. So it will be interesting to see what happens when, or if all of these forces will come together to like F with Ollie some more. So I enjoy the show for the secondary characters. I hate Oliver. I don't know why anyone wants him to be with anyone. I don't hate Laurel. I think that she's underwritten and fucked on a lot, but I don't dislike her. Sarah was cool when she existed. Can I just say this about the Black Canary costume though? Like I know that they're trying to make, oh, and Huntress. Okay, first of all, Black Canary. With Black Canary, I understand that they're trying to make her outfit more conservative because, you know, everyone complains about superheroes and their costumes. But let me just say this, okay? The leotard part is the least abrasive part of the costume because the leotard makes sense. She's a martial artist. It gives you a lot of flexibility and mobility. That's why ballerinas and all those gymnastics wear leotards. The corset is the issue, people. Like, it's not practical. And there are times where I'm watching Sarah, I'm like, if you make a certain kind of flip, your tits are gonna pop out of your shirt. That's just the way it would be. And I'm just like, that's the issue. And I've seen lots of really great canary costumes where like, this is no longer showing. It's just more like one solid bodysuit that's really armorized. That's great. Like, that's what I think is pragmatic. And then Huntress, oh my god, they did my girl so dirty. They got this gorgeous actress to play her. And of course, all of a sudden she's got like, Dick for backstory, Dick as her mentor, and I'm just like, I don't appreciate this at all. Like, Huntress has always been a really interesting, you know, anti-heroine, heroine character. I love her in the Birds of Prey. I love her in Justice League. So to have her be like, oh yeah, Oliver is the one who mentored me. He was my teacher, and I used, like, I'm like, suck it, I can't. They did her so effing wrong in that. And I feel like with Laurel too, like, that's the reason why. It's like, I like Sarah's Black Canary because they gave her as an equal to Oliver from the get-go, and that was interesting to watch. With Laurel, because they're gonna try and break her down so much before they let her be like the proper canary, it's frustrating to me. So anyway, those are my thoughts on Arrow. Flash is better, watch that instead.